Now moving on to the third run for this milestone. I'm sure all of you have heard about the HMPV virus and how it's been a buzzword in the past couple of weeks. But now, thankfully, we know that it's not going to be very harmful and it's more manageable and it won't impact us in the ways that COVID-19 did. Now, when I talk about COVID-19, I'm sure it brings back a flood of memories about the ways that it impacted our industry in. And that's what our next segment is all about. It's about COVID-19 and the practices post-COVID in the European countries specifically. May I now call upon Mr. Tom Renneberg, CEO at Esanum, who's going to take us through how the pharma companies engage European doctors post-COVID, sharing the best practices, the do's and don'ts, and some real-time examples. So may you join us on the stage? Hailing from Berlin, Mr. Tom Renneberg combines scientific expertise with entrepreneurial vision. After graduating from the United World College in Hong Kong and studying molecular genetics at University of Toronto, he returned to Europe to explore startups and healthcare. In 2007, he founded Esanum in Berlin, a platform that now connects over 2 million medical doctors worldwide and employs 150 professionals from 25 nations. So now let's learn from his experience. Over to you, Mr. Renneberg.
Very delighted and a bit humbled to be here. It's my first time in India. So bear with me, I landed yesterday, I'm also a bit jet-lagged. If I can get my presentation, that's great, thank you. So that's our claim: inspire, connect and empower for better healthcare. I founded Esanum actually 18 years ago. A bit hard to believe, it's actually the longest project in my life, longer than any relationship I've been with my company. And now we're over 100 people. And we are based in Germany, but we have expanded to other European countries, France, Italy, and we have .com, which is a global site. And I'm very excited that we're launching Esanum India. Together with MCI, we're partnering to bring this platform to India. Because I always think like it makes so much sense to scale something like this. You have a project, you have a platform, we've invested probably something like 15 million euros into a platform, and why restrict it to one small country? And Germany on a global scale is super small. So yeah, I'm very excited to come to one huge country, which is India. And I'm going to give you some insights on what the doctors are doing. We're targeting doctors only. And then, of course, very important, what Pharma is doing. So here, some numbers from Europe. I'm sure you've seen them in one way or another or similar. This is the digital information preference from doctors, and it's a mix, basically. It's CME, so education, they search, they like to be in communities, and they open a lot of emails. So emails is still a big trend, and also after COVID, the inbox is just exploding from the doctors. I'll get into that in a bit. So looking at this preference, we decided to be basically a one-stop shop for the doctor. So we are a newsroom where we gather news, we bring news to the doctor. We are a community, it's sort of like LinkedIn, where doctors can connect. Also, I found a very interesting statistics that 60% of the European doctors, at least, they like to marry another doctor. So dating is actually a part of our community, and we don't call it dating, of course, it's professional networking, but in reality, if you look at the numbers, the men, they like to look at women's pictures and the other way around, especially, and that together with conferences. Anyway, it gets interesting. And the last part is education. A lot of doctors like to educate themselves, and we bring education to them in any format. Anything that can be, that is educative, is even an invitation to a conference, which is then educational, but of course also a lot of digital webinars. I'm going to jump through my browser. I think that's the easiest way to show you a little bit around. So just briefly, this is a French platform. Everything is in French. We offer some content, all kinds of content. This is in Italy. So it's content from conferences, content that we produce, content that we license, and also content, and that's where I think it gets interesting, that we curate. So that we just find on the internet and we guide the doctor to it. We guide our users to it. A little bit like Google News, what Google News is doing. I'll get into that a bit later because I think that's a most interesting part, because actually what I've learned in the last 18 years is that producing content is so tedious and so expensive, and I can't even keep up. We're only 100 employees, we make about 10 million revenue. We can't produce content in every medical field all the time, every day. So we will never be that news portal if we have the ego to say it's our content and we produce it. It just won't work. It's gotten a little bit easier if once we got Pharma in, because Pharma is giving us a lot of content. Pharma is spending a lot of money on very good content, and actually it's gotten better over the years. So when I started 18 years ago, the Pharma content was frankly very bad. It was very blunt, very advertisement, very pushy, and basically I like to refer it to, I was at a campaign for Bayer, Xarelto, and actually I talked to the product managers at Bayer, and all they wanted to do is basically imprint the Xarelto X onto the eyes of the doctors, basically. They didn't care about the message, really. They just wanted everything in their color, everything in their branding. And the message, even though they had good science, they pushed that to the side and they decided to do a branding campaign. That was 15 years ago. So we've come a long way, and Pharma learned a lot, and Pharma today, luckily, for me also, and of course for the doctor who's consuming it, is producing very good content as well. But still, it's not enough to be everyday newsworthy. And Pharma itself, this is our English side, Pharma itself is also very restricted because they're only interested in certain fields. They're not entertaining all doctors. They're not in the game to produce content for all doctors. So I always say to Pharma, you need to go out and fish where the fishes are, basically. And that's one trend that after COVID, unfortunately, it's a little bit reversing. Because what I saw happening during COVID in Europe is that Pharma, basically all over the world, but in Europe I could see it firsthand, and I could profit from it actually, was that Pharma was not able to reach the doctor anymore in the conferences because they were cancelled, and Pharma was not able to send the medical reps out anymore because the doctors wouldn't receive any. They were busy. And they didn't want to get infected by some guy or a woman coming to their practice. So Pharma had a lot of money left over that they couldn't spend. And what did they? And they were kind of desperate because they realized now we are totally dependent on these channels, and they both don't work. And we didn't build up our own panel. So now what I'm realizing in the last 3 years basically is that companies have big pharma companies like Lilly, for example, they have a global directive to say every campaign is only good if it brings doctors to us directly with their name, with their consent, with their email address. And I realized, okay, this is making my life a lot harder because doctors don't want to give out their email address to 150 different pharma companies. But if my success is measured in number of email addresses that I deliver, then my life has gotten a bit tougher since COVID because of that. But I'll give you some examples on how we're working with it. So basically, we're still on the doctor side. We offer them everything basically to entertain them. We don't charge the doctor anything. So this is a register for rare diseases. Here, we're on the German side now. I scroll down a bit. This is like a LinkedIn sort of feature where they have their profile, they have the pictures that I talked about. And then you can see pretty quickly that there's Pharma pushing their content into it. So here's a classical banner. I guess further up here from MSD, we'll find an article. So basically what we're doing is we're setting the stage, a neutral ground for the doctor, for Pharma to come in with their information. And we're looking for the right opportunity, the right surrounding for their message. And yeah, so that's what we've been doing since probably 15 years. So 3 years after we started, I decided, because we started Pharma free, so 0 advertisement, and then I thought, well, who's going to pay for this? Maybe the doctor, but no way, at least in Europe, if we even charged €1 per month, we would lose 98% of our users. So we turned to Pharma, and basically Pharma turned to us, and they've been calling us basically from from day one. Since we got 10,000 doctors in 2008, the phone was ringing and it was Pharma trying to get in and saying, hey, I heard you have 10,000 doctors, can we do something with them? And for the first 2 years I said, no, we're Pharma free. And then once we changed the business model, I actually started to look at the stuff Pharma sent us, and I selected one piece that was actually not as pushy and not as advertisement, and I could even put it on our neutral and up to that point ad-free platform, and it was education. Educational modules in Europe at least, they have to be completely advertisement free. They have to be neutral, they have to be informative, but they still have a sponsor behind them. So it's quite an interesting field because we're informing, we're educating about one certain disease area, and Pharma is indirectly profiting because we're making their disease area heard or their treatment method even heard. So that's how I kind of got warm with Pharma, and that they don't bite and that they actually, that we can work together. And since then we've been working with a lot, and we today have over 150 clients and counting, and I'm very excited actually because these companies, a lot of times they're very conservative, but we are coming into them with our team, with our tech guys, with our UX and marketing people, and together we can innovate basically with the money of Pharma and the power of Pharma and the platform and the power of my platform. We can try out anything, and that's very exciting, and I guess that's why I'm still here after 18 years and still excited about this. So I'll give you some examples, concrete examples of what Pharma is doing. One of the easiest standards, basically, easiest features is a microsite. So basically, it's a site inside the website, inside our Esanum ecosphere, where Pharma is completely renting the space. So here it's Daiichi Sankyo with 3 products, and they are delivering content. They are basically doing educational modules, everything, and we're just helping them to get an audience. Because again, fish where the fishes are, Daiichi is also pushing out this content on their own website, but I've seen the numbers from that and they're horrible. And if you compare the cost, it always makes sense to take your content out and spread it as far as possible. Now, the thing that's holding back, at least European Pharma, is the law, because you can only, most of the content is restricted and only allowed to be targeting for doctors. But since we verify our users, and there's of course other platforms, one of which I'm going to come to in a bit, those are platforms where you can mirror your content. So in this case of Daiichi, actually we're the main platform and Daiichi is mirroring from us, but it also works the other way around, and basically those are campaigns that run for years. The longest campaign that we're running like this is running for 14 years. It's GSK with vaccines, and GSK is going to be in the vaccine business probably forever, and we are delivering doctors to their content for a long time, and so this, I hope this will continue for a while. Now those are just some other examples. So basically they are all the same or similar, but they all have their little niche, and that's where it gets interesting for us as a platform, because we're getting all this content from all the sites, and then we can decide which one is actually good, which one is interesting, which one do we push out in an email without even getting paid for it, because it's just good content. Yeah, we have educational modules. So in all facets, we have this in the different languages, and we're happy to take content if content providers or publishers come to us and say, can you take this content up? We'll screen it and say, of course, because content is king, and content will actually result in activity. And I think that's also what differs us from Pharma, because we are happy to take on any content, even if it's playing into the hands of some other pharma company. Pharma wouldn't do this. So this whole push of building their own portals, which I now see again since 2 years basically, it's gonna, I believe, it's gonna fail in most ways. The biggest one you might remember is Univadis, where Merck, MSD, they spent billions on this portal, and it was, and it didn't end. They just kept pushing money into it, and in the end, they had to give up, because it just wasn't perceived as neutral, and it didn't work. So yes, so we're going on conferences a lot actually, and we're teaming up with associations, which is why I'm very happy to be partnering here with MCI, because MCI is seeing a lot of doctors every year. And what I always think is it's such a waste that a doctor goes to a conference and after that basically a lot of money and resources were spent to acquire him to attend these conferences, and then what? Maybe there's some post-conference stuff, but after 2 months that's over. And most of the time the associations, they don't have a all-year plan, all-year communication plan. Or the pharma company that had a satellite symposium or something. All this stuff ends pretty soon after the conference. So in my view, it absolutely makes sense to be going to, and doesn't have to be me, there's others on the market of course, but I'm happy if it's Esanum, but to go to a provider, to a platform that has a plan to communicate with the doctor that everybody spent a lot of resources in acquiring, have a plan to keep him active, keep him happy or her over the year until the next year comes when the same conference goes into the new version. So yeah, I'm just going to browse through this. So basically, pharma, if you look at the platforms today, pharma is all over the place. Here we have educational modules, so the doctor can actually register. Those are actually live, so we're talking about January 22nd at 6 p.m. And the doctor can just, I lost my internet connection. That happens a lot here in the Wi-Fi, sorry. I'll go back. And the doctor can just join and through the calendar. One moment, I have to connect to my, there we go. I just wanted to show you quickly, because that's actually the one thing where we managed to get the consent from the doctor for pharma. Because now we have this new push from pharma saying, I need the email address, I need the name, I need his consent so I can email him later in case another COVID comes or whatever. They just want to have the contact themselves. And there's nothing I can do against it, so I am delivering. And it's very hard, because why would a doctor do that? And one thing we found that is working actually quite well is CME. If you have CME points, you have something that the doctor really wants, and it's enough actually to have anything, any small thing to say, please leave your email address, again, even though you already left it with us because you're in our platform, and at the same time there's a checkbox that actually, in this case, Bristol Myers Squibb will be receiving a copy of that data set. So with that we get around 60 to 70% success rate, which is good, which is not 100, but at least we're delivering some of these contacts. Yeah, what I also noticed since COVID that is picking up a lot is I used to basically for the first 10 years be able to charge flat fees. So basically we set up a campaign for a year and it's like maybe 50,000 euros for the whole year. And then I say, okay, if it's successful or not, it's not up to us, it's up to your content. So I don't want to be responsible if it's old content or a product that nobody wants. And my success is measured by the number of clicks or engagements on your campaign, then that's not fair. This risk is actually yours, dear pharma product manager. And for a long time I was going okay with this, but this is also getting quite harder to do that. So what we've launched now are, for example, this we actually launched during COVID, is the virtual rep. So basically it's like messages, in this case 6 messages, basically the message that a pharma rep would bring to a doctor for each visit, and we're sending it out by email and also on the platform, and the doctor can read it if they want, and only after they read it we can charge the pharma. So this is one example of where we're actually taking the risk, because we're also getting involved in these messages and we're saying, okay, this is good enough, let's share the risk, and we're charging a fee for every message that is read. So in this case, I've read 3 of the 6 messages and I can only read the following ones once I read that. So they have to be good also. This kind of content you cannot just push onto the doctor. He's not gonna open the next one if the previous message was not informative. And because we're in the digital sphere, everything is measurable. So basically, out of the 100 people I showed you in the picture in the beginning, 15 of them work in analytics, because we're looking at every angle of this click. Where is he coming from? Why did he click? What is his preference? And that's what we deliver to our clients. And I think that has a lot of this data is very valuable to know what are we going to produce next month. What are we going? Is this still worth it? What is my return of invest? Because actually, the real return of invest is, at least in Europe, impossible to calculate. Pharma is basically pouring money on all channels. We just heard the word omni-channel, I think today more than 10 times. So basically all channels have the same or similar message. There is no way to know which of these messages actually caused the prescription to be written. So pharma needs to be informed as much as they can to make an informed decision later. And one of these data points is the data that we measure on the platform. So that's very important. Here, I think, I don't know if this works now. Yes, so actually we made it very quickly. So this is just an example of where the consent is actively given that his email address is shared with Pharma. And overall, I'm going to jump to this slide. I learned this. I lived for 8 years in Hong Kong, and one of the Chinese sayings, it was something similar to that, is master the basics, then innovate from the best. So I'm always looking around and who's the best actually on this field. And one platform that I want to just show you quickly, it's actually a competitor of mine, but I think it's good to still mention them because they're doing amazing work, is called Doximity.com. It's only in the US. Otherwise, I think they would be even more successful. But what do they do? On the right, you see their revenue and EBIT. So they're going through the roof with everything. But what do they do differently? And they have over 10 articles per medical field every day. That's a lot. So if we tried to do that, we couldn't. It's just way too expensive. And those articles, they have to be good. But 90% of the content is curated. And that is super interesting because for a long time, actually, I was under the impression the content has to be owned. We have to be the content provider. We have to build the trust and so on. But actually, looking at Doximity.com, that's not true. They are just being basically a news aggregator. They are going through the news of each specialty, and they're spending a lot of resources on that. And I guess they're doing a lot of it with AI. I called them, I had a call with them maybe 6 or 7 years ago, and they told me we employ over 200 engineers. And probably what those engineers are doing, because the platform, you cannot do so much on a platform, but probably what they were doing is building algorithms to find in the vast internet and in the fast news sphere, find the content that is personally fitting to the user. So they make a match between all the content of the world, all the medical content of the world, and the user, and they send out they basically create a personal digest of what's going on in the world in their medical field. So yeah, highly, highly personalized. They have targeted ads, just like we do, but basically all the advertisements that you see on Doximity or on Esanum, they are targeted by specialty or by country, region. They are as targeted as they can be. They have profiles like a little bit like LinkedIn, like they have a job market, and basically we're doing it quite similar to them. And what I just want to try to bring across is we entertain the doctor in any way we can, keep him happy, keep him active, and then we have the space to put in targeted messages, sponsored messages from Pharma, sponsored educational modules, all this stuff. Because if we don't have the ground set, if we don't have a neutral ground of good news that is really relevant and valuable, then he will not read these Pharma messages. So basically they only work together. Yeah, so I'm very excited about Doximity. I just wanted to show you. So if you have a chance, check out their platform. Yeah, so that's just an example of we're piloting this curated content. So this is content that is actually not hosted on our platform, that with one click you land on the content provider itself, on the publisher here, Nature, and so on. So, yeah, this is one field I'm very excited to get into. And lastly, I want to share one project with you that actually a pharma company came to us with very recently. And at first, I couldn't believe that this is actually possible with GDPR. The GDPR is, I think, here it's called DPDPA, right? Data protection. It's very, very big in Europe, and here it is as well. I compared the fines. The fines in India are even higher. So you really want to be compliant with GDPR, or in your case, DPDPA. And what this company is actually, what this pharma company was actually asking us to do is target doctors on their phones through their Google and Android and iPhone ad ID. So here in the middle you see AAID and IDFA. And basically what's happening right now, and this is 100% GDPR conform, is that a lot of apps like Uber, for example, everybody's using Uber in Germany, I think in India it's also very popular, they need your location all the time because they want to know where to send the car. And what you are agreeing to, so you actually give your consent, is that your location is shared with Uber. And what they do is they anonymize it, so your name is of course cleared, but aggregated, they sell this data. They study it, they do anything they want with it, and it's totally, totally legal. And this data from all kinds of apps, so basically any app that requires your location could be doing this. I'm not saying that Uber does it, but these sources are from anywhere, so it could be a weather app that just tells you what country are you in, what's the weather. What they're doing is they're aggregating this data and selling it, so you are able to target, or we are able to target individuals based on their location history. So I had a call yesterday with a company that is actually selling this data, and for the whole of India, it costs, for 2 weeks of data, it costs only $10,000 US dollars. And that's pretty crazy, I think, because you're getting data together with the Apple and Google ID to target these individuals on their phones or wherever they are. And what do you do with the geodata? You could do things, and that's the first thing I thought about to do, is, for example, on a conference center. Everybody, you know that a big conference is happening on a certain place. So basically you put a fence around that conference center, and you say, okay, anybody who goes in and out this conference center for the next 2 days, he's probably, or there's a much, much higher chance that he or she is a doctor. And then you can target this individual for as long as you want, basically, as long as they have their phone. And I think that's pretty crazy that this is possible with GDPR. I know it has not so much to do with the rest of my talk, but I just wanted to share this with you because I'm so amazed to do it, and I'm actually running this, starting to run this campaign now, and I can let you know how the campaign is going. But basically, what we're always doing is we're trying to find the needle in the haystack. In Europe, only 0.5%. Is it the cable? 0.5% of the population are doctors. So that means 99.5% of Android and iPhone users are patients that we don't need for my platform. We are running a doctor's platform. So being able to target these on the open world, I think it's a game changer, and I'm very excited to be trying this out. Anyway, I decided to skip a few slides just to open up also the floor to your questions. I'm very happy to keep this more interactive, and if we don't have a chance to meet today, feel free to add me on LinkedIn. I'm always happy to, wait, I'll also put my QR code. I'm always happy to engage and try out new ideas. Also, if you want to learn about how this campaign with the Google and Apple IDs is going, I'm happy to keep you posted. That's it for me. So, thank you.
Behavior time spent on a neutral platform of a SCP, maybe in Europe.
Yeah.
What is the typical time, a weekly or monthly they do spend?
So the average time is 3 minutes. And it went up actually quite a lot. Before COVID it was less, but because the offers of webinars went up dramatically. So the number of digital educational formats in Germany or in France, those are the two numbers that I recently saw, they tripled in these last 3 years. And this is what's driving up the average time. So an educational module by law in Germany, for example, has to be at least 30 minutes in order to get a CME point, and that's what's keeping the users there. Otherwise, before that, it was 1 minute and 10, so it was very short.
Sure. Thanks, Ram.
Sure, thank you for the question.
Any other question?
I think his question was not one duration. In a month, how much time does the doctor stay in?
Well, that highly depends on the content. So, for example, I showed you, my picture's already gone. I showed you the gastroenterology feed. We are curating content, so we are getting 10 content pieces a day, and we were able to drive up the engagements to 3 to 4 a month, which is a lot for us. We have some users that don't show up for half a year, and then they're just basically they're reading their email and they're never clicking. And I've actually moved away from this KPI to say I need the user on my platform, because I think that's also outdated. Now I just want our content to be read. I want my emails to be delivered, not even opened. So we have changed just this year. So just 1 week ago, actually, I had a speech in front of my employees, and I said our new driving force, or North Star, we call it. So it's the one KPI that we all look to, is touch points with doctors. And it used to be engagement, or it used to be page impressions on the site. And I think it's outdated, because now I'm creating touch points anywhere. It doesn't have to be on my platform. And maybe my platform is even too small in some countries. And it's impossible to drive all the people to your platform, because then also you have to keep the platform super pretty and for all specialties and so on. So in many cases, it makes sense to focus on something else. And in our case, it is touch points. So for example, when we send out an email and the email is opened, but not clicked, just opened, that's already a touch point. So in terms of that, we're creating many touch points. So on average, something like 10 per month per user. But if you focus on the site, then it goes down dramatically. And also because we're not even focusing on that anymore. Good.
Because that's so much more engaging than a website, which the consumer is drifting away from.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's what I just meant. So even using YouTube. So a lot of basically all the interviews that we go to conferences and we interview the KOLs. We've interviewed over 3,000 KOLs. We put them on YouTube as well. It doesn't make sense to keep them hidden on our platform, because nobody might see it. So just spread it out. If it's legally possible, so if there's no advertisement for RX medication in that video, we'll put it on every channel where the people are. We'd even put it on Instagram.
So you would eventually evolve into like a YouTube channel or maybe something on Instagram?
Sure. And I would recommend that, actually. Take your content and spread it as far as possible. Yeah, thank you. Yes?
So, what I typically miss here, I haven't seen the SMS or WhatsApp or any messaging channel. So you guys only still prefer email only? In typically our omni-channel strategy, there is always a messaging platform, messaging channel. So WhatsApp or maybe Telegram or a SMS. SMS is still relevant, or RCS message.
No, actually in Germany or in Europe, we do it all through email. There's a little bit in the browser push notification, but that's negligible. So we haven't managed to make a jump to WhatsApp, for example. Also, this whole GDPR drive, I call it, doctors in Germany are very wary about being professionally on WhatsApp. I don't know why. It actually doesn't make sense. It's encrypted and so on. So it's just as safe as our platform. But no, email is absolutely crucial. And basically what I've noticed is a fight for the inbox. So basically the number of emails that the doctor is getting, it has tripled in the last years, because what I mentioned in the beginning, Pharma has realized we need to send emails too. So now everybody is sending emails, and Google is actually trying to counter it. So Google, if you don't open an email 3 times, it'll make it very easy to unsubscribe. So everybody's fighting, right now, at least in my world, everybody's fighting for the inbox and we're increasing the number of emails basically every month.
Cool. So we are lucky to in India have India and WhatsApp and SMS as a marketing channel.
Okay.
Thanks, Jack.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting.
How much pharmacies or pharmacists influence the pharma business, and can we engage with pharmacies as well through this type of
Yes, sure. We could open the platform to any target audience. So, like I said in the beginning, we're just about to launch in India, and we're actually looking for partners to do this with. So MCI and Esanum are doing this together. And if we decide, if you want to target pharmacists, it makes total sense. Basically, any medically related a person is interested in this content. So for sure, we have done campaigns in Europe, in Italy and Spain with pharmacists, but we are not using pharmacists, we're not the pharmacist platform, so to say. But in India we could be. I'm absolutely open to that. Anything that makes sense.
I'll also add to what you just asked. So we're going to customize it to India because in Europe, email is what sells, but in India, nobody opens emails. So here we're going to be focusing mainly on WhatsApp. That's a tech they will need to develop. But in India, we're going to sort of Indianize, and also the content. We're going to take the best from Europe and US, but it's going to have the Indian perspective. So there'll be a lot of Indian content also there.
That's it. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Renneberg. Your session was super insightful. May I now request Mr. Salil Kalyanpur to kindly felicitate Mr. Renneberg.